So veterinarians are incredibly skilled clinicians, right? And most of them, if not all of them, weren't trained in business management, yet running a practice is running a business. Without a strong financial and operational foundation, even the best medicine can struggle to reach its full potential. So that's where KPIs come in, right? Key performance indicators. They give you some visibility into how your practice is really performing. And that's really what I'm going to go through today.
So the big question is this: how do veterinarians like you, who live demanding lives,
who never seem to have enough time, able to achieve balance and take control of your finances with confidence?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
We are Florida Veterinary Advisors, and this is the Smarter Vet Podcast. Hey, Smarter Vet, welcome back to the Smarter Vet Financial Podcast. This is your co-host, Tom Seeko, and co-founder of Florida Veterinary Advisors. We are a national personal and business financial planning firm providing a different way of thinking to make financial decisions easy so you can spend time doing other things that you love. If you've not had a chance to catch all of our other great resources, we've got masterclasses, assessments, videos, raise CEs, all that stuff can be found at our website through flvetadvisors.com. If you're enjoying our show and you've not had a chance to rate and review us, please take a moment to do that on Apple or Spotify, because it really does help other people find our show so they can enjoy the same great content that you're getting. I've got a second appearance guest here that's going to come on the show today, and I'm glad to have him back. It's going to be a lot of fun having this conversation. And I think for any of you who are aspiring to be owners, or let's say you're in the thick of being an owner, or even also looking to prepare eventually for the transition of ownership, this is the conversation you want to listen to. And who I've got with me today, his name is Eric Benke. He's the principal at Cantor Consulting Group, dedicated to veterinary practices to help them unlock their financial potential. He spent years advising veterinary owners on how to mess with their numbers, optimize taxes, improve cash flow, and building practices value for the long term, which is super important. His background's in public accounting, and he has a deep knowledge within the veterinary profession, helping navigate a lot of these unique challenges that a lot of people are not fully aware of. And Eric, I'm really glad that you're here with me today. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Let's get things kicked off here. And, I'm really curious to just throw in here for everyone who's listening, what drew you to the veterinary community?
Well, I mean, I'm not a veterinarian myself, right? I've spent 20 years helping business owners become more productive, more profitable. And I've had the privilege of working closely with veterinary professionals for, more than a decade now. I joined KCG about 13 years ago and really honed in my skills as a business consultant. But what drew me most to the veterinary profession was a mix of, personal passion and professional alignment. As a lifelong animal lover, I've always appreciated the work that veterinarians do, right? But from the client side, once I began working with veterinary practice owners, I quickly realized kind of how unique this field is. Veterinarians are incredibly intelligent, they're hardworking and deeply compassionate. And if you think about it, that not only makes them inspiring to work with, but highly engaged and committed clients, right? Like those are the qualities that you're looking for. I found that having a bit of professional distance from the clinical side as well actually helps me with, objectivity to bring clarity to the business side, which is where I really provide the most value.
That's awesome. Yeah, the veterinary community, I will say, even starting on my end, I loved animals. It was a great conversation starter. And then you realize it's like, wow, there's like a big hole here of education that people really could use.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we talk about strong business foundation, which I know, you've worked with many people over the years, when you think about some of the things in business and, why do you think the message is so important to practices today when it comes to just making sure that their business is on a good foundation?
Sure. So veterinarians are incredibly skilled clinicians, right? And most of them, if not all of them, weren't trained in business management, yet running a practice is running a business. Without a strong financial and operational foundation, even the best medicine can struggle to reach its full potential. So that's where KPIs come in, right? Key performance indicators. They give you some visibility into how your practice is really performing. And that's really what I'm going to go through today.
Yeah, KPIs is a big big word.
Yeah, for sure.
The way I've always processed it in my mind is that, there's certain ones that really move the needle, and then there's others that are just good to know just for overall business wise. But just really being able to dial into, it's like, hey, my business isn't doing well. So what are the areas that are lacking, and what are some of the spots that I can focus in on? And, I know one of the first, there's a few different KPIs that we're going to talk about here today. And the first one was around, client retention rate. So, why is this metric such a powerful indicator of a practice's health?
Yeah. So retention is one of the most telling indicators of client satisfaction and trust, right? If clients are coming back period after period, year after year, it means they value your care, they value your communication, and they value your team. Um, it's also much more cost effective, right? Retaining clients is far less expensive than acquiring new ones.
That's right. Yeah, I would agree with you. Getting new clients is always a more costly proposition.
Yeah.
And what do you think that reasons or that practices struggle so much with client retention? How can they turn that around?
Yeah, well, I mean, often practices just don't realize that. Pause. Okay, let's start again. Often practices just don't realize that they're losing clients until it's too late, right? Maybe follow-ups aren't happening or clients don't feel connected. A quick and easy way to improve this is track who hasn't been in for the last 12 months. Reach out to them with a personalized reminder or maybe a wellness check, something to that effect.
Okay. Yeah, so being able to at least engage with them a bit more, see if you can be able to pull them back in. I know my practice would mail me something, I don't know, almost obsessively all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Well, now
Emails
not
too.
just mailings, emails, texts, everything.
Right. Okay. So one is the client retention side. So if we were to look at another important indicator in the business is new client acquisition. So this
Yeah.
can be seen as like a growth factor within the business. And what should practices be looking for in this specific number?
Well, I mean, let's talk about it, right? So this metric tells you whether your marketing, reputation, and community presence are working, right? A healthy flow of new clients means your practice is growing and staying relevant. So it's really necessary to continue that growth. I mean, on the flip side, though, it's all about balance, right? If you're gaining new clients but losing existing ones, then you're just treading water. I mean, ideally, you want to see both numbers trending positively, and that's your growth and your loyalty working together.
Other times that you've seen any practices to where they are losing people and acquiring them pretty much at the same rate to where it's like they're kind of treading water?
For sure, I've absolutely seen that. Luckily, it's not a difficult fix.
And I would imagine the fix would probably be something more along the lines of, hey, you're aware of it now, instead of almost like burying your head in the sand and being
Yeah.
like, things are good.
Right. Well, normally when a practice is focusing too much on one thing or the other is when they kind of hit that pitfall. But yeah, I mean, it needs to be that healthy balance, and really, it's going to boil down to client communication, right? I mean, how well you communicating with your clients, whether they're
Of
in the
course.
exam room or not. Like you said, you're getting texts and reminders and all sorts of stuff regularly throughout the year.
Okay. So when we think about like a third indicator that we were talking about in the past is around compliance. And I think compliance is a very big terminology that can be used in there. And what does high or low compliance tell you about a practice, and how does a practice know if they are compliant?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, compliance in this case really is where medicine and business intersect, right? So when clients follow through on care recommendations, then pets stay healthier, practice benefits financially. Um, Low compliance points to, in my opinion, communication gaps or even affordability concerns.
Okay. So can you talk a little bit more on that?
Yeah, sure. Um, when you are dealing with non-compliance, that basically means that you are potentially seeing a client once a year at best. You're
Mhm.
normally not getting the mid-year kind of checkups. They're not following through with with any of the preventatives. They're potentially not following through with some of the basics as far as their immunizations or anything like that, and then they're just coming to you after the wheels fell off, right? After the animal's unhealthy, and now they're coming to you to try to fix something that could have very easily been prevented. So it's really level of care gets heightened when you have a high level of compliance.
Okay. The compliance, because I know you've got more of the internal workings of the business from a compliance standpoint, and we're more or less talking towards the compliance of making sure that people who are bringing their pets there are actually keeping up with things and following through on the stuff they should be doing. I mean, it makes me think
That's one
about.
of the, yeah, that's one of the most important things. I mean, if you think about it, the recurring nature of the business is you have a client, they have an animal, and they're seeing you for 10 years,
Mhm.
right? That's the business component of it. But if they're not doing those things that you're recommending regularly, well, where do you cross that line? And
Of
so is it
course.
a business issue or is it a health issue? You always have to assume it's a business issue.
Well,
Um,
on the note of compliance,
mhm.
of course, I would imagine some people get a little bit overwhelmed with it, just the amount of notices and things that are going on there. And what is a way that you would see, or some simple practical ways to improve compliance?
Sure. Start by tracking services like typical compliance services, dental, cleanings, heartworm prevention. Uh, Train your team to explain the why behind each recommendation. That's the key. Clients are much more likely to say yes when they understand the value. Another thing is utilizing wellness plans for clients. I mean, data shows a 72% increase in visit frequency and an overall 44% increase in ACT, average client transaction, if they're enrolled in a wellness plan.
Oh, wow. That makes a big difference. And well, because I know some of the bigger contributors that are out there, they offer these wellness programs. I Do you have any ideas of, like, if they did want to implement a wellness program, what could they do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go about that. Our firm can absolutely help walk through that with you
Of
because
course.
it's not a simple answer. However, most smaller practices, uh, or at least most of the smaller practices that we work with, and we have a few dozen practices that are under 3 doctors, there are maybe 2 that utilize wellness plans. And so we've been really kind of ringing that bell a lot this year with regards to wellness plans because there is a right way to do it and it can be extremely beneficial if it's done properly. So you want to make sure that that the management of the plans are correct, that you're not cannibalizing current income by putting someone on a wellness plan for something that's already happened. I mean, there's a few different ways to get around that and to make it work, but they are extremely beneficial. And so I've
Okay.
got 3 clients this month alone that are starting wellness plans that we started to kind
Perfect.
of couple together a package that works well.
Okay. So the another key indicator that we were chatting about is revenue per DVM, which is, of course, a veterinarian needs to produce some kind of revenue for the business. And, like, what does this number reveal about staffing or scheduling?
Sure. So this metric primarily helps you understand how efficiently each veterinarian is contributing to the practice's revenue, right? It's not about pushing volume, it's about optimizing scheduling, support staff, case management. Um, that's the key there as far as understanding that number. I think that does get it does get a little skewed at times when people are kind of looking at it the wrong way. It's not about this doctor isn't pulling their weight. There's a deeper issue. And if the
Hmm.
numbers aren't where they need to be, that's a symptom of the actual, cause. And so we could help you identify that. But those causes generally come down to, like I said, scheduling, not having the right person do the right procedures, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and there are a lot of, because, a well-run practice, typically the veterinarian is not the one recommending the treatment plan. It's most likely one of the veterinary nurses that's actually coming in there and talking about it. So do you see any kind of connection between the two of those for the revenue for a veterinarian?
It depends. I know that in a perfect world, that scenario is what happens, but in a lot of smaller practices, it is the DVM that's making recommendations, and you got to look at it like this: if the revenue per DVM is low, oftentimes it means maybe the vets are doing too much admin work, or they're
Right.
not seeing enough patients, or the work they are performing is routine work as opposed to dental or surgery, right? I mean, it could also signal pricing issues. Um, that number helps you so much in digging deeper and making informed staffing or workflow decisions.
I would agree. Yeah, it definitely it was popping in my mind as you were saying it around maybe they're undercutting the price of services and they're not charging the full value or
Hmm.
so many little things to focus in on. And when you can really dial into them, it's like, okay, yeah, we really need to adjust this, which is cool, which is
Well, and that's why
actually
it's such a great indicator, right? I mean, that indicator says, hey, something deeper is wrong here. Well, what do we do now? Without tracking those numbers, uh, how would you even know that there's a potential issue? So that's why these things are so important to track.
right. This really leads into the fifth indicator here is we were talking about net profit margin. And I can admit even to the amount of practices we work with, how many of them they kind of glaze over it. They might know their revenue numbers for the last year, but they don't know profits. And
Yeah.
why is this so critical to track?
I mean, profit margin, it's the bottom line, literally, right? It tells you how much your practice actually keeps after expenses,
Hmm.
right? You can have really high revenue and be struggling if your costs are out of control.
Okay. Yeah. So when you think about the profits, what I always find very fascinating as well, talking with an owner, if your business is a pass through entity where your profits basically get dumped on your personal return, is that an owner will take money as a wage and then all the rest of the money just gets, it's somewhere, but they're paying taxes on it. But then that
Yeah.
number, it's like, well, how much profits are we actually making in comparison to the revenue of the business? And what are some red flags or opportunities that you might see when you start reviewing this?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's one of those things that's really hard to just, like, in an interview say, here's the magic bullet, because that's a little bit
Right.
more complicated. But
Well, it's
it,
the
it,
what CJ would say. It's the diaper answer. It depends, you know.
I like that. Uh, but if your margin's low, right, look at your biggest expenses, and I'll keep it simple. Categories like payroll, right? Payroll is normally one of the biggest ones. Are you overstaffed? Are your prices in line with your service level and level of care? Are you discounting too much? There's a lot of different things that can cause that negative number as far as the profit margin goes. But on the flip side, that healthy margin gives you room to invest in your team, in your facility, in your future. So
Right.
there is there's this alignment that we have with you guys. Um, and for anybody that's listening, we work together a lot and we have a lot of clients in common because there's this alignment in thought process where the profitability of the practice is not you trying to make as much money as you can per se. It's to make sure that you can provide the best level of care for your clients, uh, the best level of service for your clients and your staff. And the more profitability you have, you can invest in that. The more you invest in that, the more you get back. And
Of
then that
course.
takes us to kind of that the why question. I know that you're a doctor because you love doing what you do and you want to help people and you want to make an impact. That's great. But your practice is not the be all end all. Your practice is really just the vehicle. And that vehicle is going to help you build your personal wealth. That's where our job ends and that's where your job starts.
Right.
So, in order to really look at that next level and say, yeah, I've got a really great, successful, profitable practice, awesome. That's step one. Step two, three, and four, that's the planning phase. That's the why you're doing this. So it's great that you're making an impact in your community and making an impact with people, but at the end of the day, you've also got to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success beyond the practice.
That's right. when we look, so these five that we've brushed on today, the client retention rate, new client acquisition rate, compliance rate, revenue per DVM, net profit margin, some people are just not tracking these or even paying attention. There are a lot more indicators that are out there.
Yeah.
Where should people start? And are there any systems or tools that can make it easier to track these things?
Yeah, I mean, start simple. Pick one or two metrics, right? If you're not following them now, pick one or two, like client retention. That's an easy one. Revenue per DVM, that's relatively easy, right? Because it's going to be in your PIMs. And track them monthly. Even if you don't know what the numbers necessarily mean, start to actually go through the process. And if you go through the process and you're consistent in doing that, then you can obviously develop that from there. But think about all the consistent processes that you have, not just forget about running the practice, but in medicine itself. And when you're providing your level of care, everything is extremely process driven. Why would this be any different?
I agree. Yeah, well, sometimes it's just a matter of time. I think priority, interest.
Priority. It's not time, it's priority.
Oh, yes. Sometimes too, it's like, do I want to be focusing on these things? And I mean, especially if you're running your business like a business, where a lot of people, when they get into veterinary medicine, they're usually transitioning because, they want to have their own gig. They want to practice medicine their own way. And business acumen is not really their thing. So,
Sure.
If they were going to start, I mean, I think it sounds great. I would even probably suggest here too is block out some time periodically to just even sit down and look at these numbers. Because if you aren't devoting any time to it or any focus, it's going to constantly keep getting overlooked. You're never going to pay attention to it.
I mean, I have a better solution.
Please share.
Well, work with our firm and we'll help you define when, where, and how to track these numbers. We'll literally help hold you accountable and then decipher what those numbers mean. What is it going to take to be better at any one of these metrics? And these 5 metrics, they are pretty, they cover most of the practice. There's a ton. Once, the beauty of this is that you can always be better, right? There's no such thing as perfect. So we always want to get there. And if you nail these 5, you've got a really solid practice. And then the question becomes, well, how can we be better? And there's a whole nother set of metrics that we can go through and discuss and dig into. But between myself and my staff, we are happy to have a no-cost consultation. Just let us know that you heard about us here on the Smarter Vet podcast. And we're happy to dive into the numbers with you. We can go through your practice management software with you, or at least guide you through some reports that we would need. Take a look at your books, whether they be financials, QuickBooks, whatever the case is. And we could actually start giving you some real actionable advice at no cost.
What's a good number for people to call? Like I can provide for everyone who's listening, if you are interested, you want to connect, but if they want to reach out right now, easy way to call you, like what would be the best number to call?
Absolutely. The best number to call is 813-855-5433.
Perfect. Yeah, reach out, contact Eric. If you're looking for his contact information as well, I'll make sure to include that in the show notes along with the website. I definitely, as we talk more and more about these things, this is really insightful. And, I would encourage anyone if there's anything intriguing from even one of the indicators we've talked about here, now is the time really for you to dive down and start considering them more. So, Eric, I appreciate you. Thanks for taking time to connect with me and share all this great stuff with people.
Absolutely. Today. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Don't forget to visit our website and sign up for our newsletter. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about upcoming race-approved CE webinars, podcast releases, short presentations, and articles that we publish. Make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.